Oda Nobunaga had unified much of Japan by the sword, and he was the de facto ruler of the country, banishing the last shogun, Ashikaga Yoshiaki, and ending the Ashikaga shogunate. The power of the shogun had decreased over the ages, causing a time of political instability known as the Sengoku period, which resulted in a time of everlasting war and social upheavals for over 100 years. Although Nobunaga had united much of Japan through a series of successful battles, he was betrayed by Akechi Mitsuhide, his most trusted general, and was slain at the Honnoji incident, along with his eldest son and heir Nobutada, in the year 1582. Toyotomi Hideyoshi was a man who was born a peasant, the son of a common foot soldier. He served the late Nobunaga, and through his intellect and battle prowess, became one of his senior generals by the time Nobunaga died. Hideyoshi already had a reputation as a military genius, and quickly avenged his master by defeating Akechi Mitsuhide in battle, and secured his status as a powerful warlord. With the de facto ruler of Japan Nobunaga being dead, and with there being no shogun, a power vacuum within the country had emerged. Hideyoshi, a man who came from nothing, would exploit this opportunity and called for a council to decide who would succeed his lord Oda Nobunaga as the most powerful man in the country. Hideyoshi and his council determined that Nobunaga's grandson, the infant Hidenobu, would be the heir, as he was the son of Nobunaga's eldest son Nobutada, who had died with him at the Honnoji incident. Thus, Hideyoshi would preside over the heir until he came of age, and Hideyoshi would take Nobunaga's power and authority for himself. After a series of successful battles, Hideyoshi and his brother Hidenaga defeated many of Nobunaga's generals and sons in a series of bloody campaigns that would add to Hideyoshi's repute and legend. Hideyoshi soon established himself as the most powerful daimyo in Japan, and became the Chancellor of the realm in the year 1586. Hideyoshi would unify the country, from a humble peasant to the most powerful man in all the land. His story was unprecedented, and he became so powerful that he waged war against Korea and China, and pledged over 300,000 soldiers to the campaigns. These conflicts would be remembered as the Imjin War, and portrays the scope of Hideyoshi's power, going to war against the Ming dynasty and the King of Korea. Although Hideyoshi's story was legend, and he was immensely powerful beyond measure, he lacked sons to inherit his legacy. However, one of his concubines, Yododono, would give birth to a son named Hideyori. He was born in the year 1593, when Hideyoshi was around 56 years old. In addition, not all was well within the Toyotomi clan. Hideyoshi's nephew, Toyotomi Hidesugu, had been acting as the imperial regent, while Hideyoshi handled the Korean invasion. However, after Hideyoshi's son Hideyori was born, their relationship began to deteriorate. Rumours spread of Hidesugu committing repeated and unjust murders in the year 1595, and he was also accused of plotting a coup. As a result, Hideyoshi ordered him to commit ritual suicide. Hideyoshi also ordered the execution of Hidesugu's entire family, including children, wives, and mistresses. The harshness and brutality of executing 39 women and children shocked Japanese society and alienated many daimyo from Toyotomi rule. Nevertheless, Hideyoshi's rule stood unquestioned, but he soon fell ill in the year 1598. With Hideyoshi's son, Hideyori, Being a child of 5, and having wiped out his entire clan, Hideyoshi created a council of 5 elders to ensure his heir would be able to succeed him after his coming of age. However, there was no adult member of the Toyotomi clan left alive after the death of Hideyoshi, which caused the Toyotomi clan's downfall, as again, Japan had no clear leader. Much like after the death of Oda Nobunaga, history would repeat itself, and war would brew. Hideyoshi's death created a power vacuum, as again there was no appointed shogun to lead the nation, as his heir was a boy of 5. In addition to this, the council of elders who essentially held power over Japan, appointed by Hideyoshi to make sure his son would succeed him, would soon be at odds, and friction would generate between the members. 2 factions would soon form. One was led by Tokugawa Ieyasu, who was unrivaled in terms of seniority, rank, reputation, and overall influence within the Regency government. And he had the allegiance of many of the lords of Eastern Japan. The Toyotomi clan loyalists and lords of Western Japan rallied behind Ishida Mitsunari, who had high status among the bureaucrats of Hideyoshi's government and was known for his unbending character. Mitsunari had many friends, 2 of the most notable being a famous samurai named Otani Yoshisugu, who was famed for his leprosy. There was also Shima Sakon, another of Ishida's confidants. However, Mitsunari was on bad terms with some daimyo that were known to be good warriors, notably Hideyoshi's nephew, Kobayakawa Hideaki, who had developed a grudge against Mitsunari as a result of rumors spread by Tokugawa Ieyasu that Mitsunari was behind Hideyoshi's decision to not reward Hideaki with the Chugoku region after his reckless behavior at the siege of Ulsan during the Korean campaign. It is said that Tokugawa Ieyasu began recruiting several daimyo who were both loyal to Hideyoshi, such as Hideaki, and others that had no love for him, such as Mogami Yoshiaki. In a particularly tragic case, Hideyoshi refused to spare the life of Mogami Yoshiaki's 15-year-old daughter, who only had just arrived in Kyoto to become Hidesugu's concubine, and had not even met her husband-to-be. Due to Hidesugu's alleged coup, all of his family members were eradicated, even Yoshiaki's daughter, who had never even met Hidesugu. It seems Ieyasu was manipulating daimyo to join him. In addition to this, rumours started to spread that Ieyasu at that point was the only surviving contemporary ally of Oda Nobunaga, Japan's first unifier, and that he would take over Hideyoshi's legacy, just as Nobunaga's was taken by Hideyoshi. This was especially evident among the loyalist bureaucrats, who suspected Ieyasu of agitating unrest among Toyotomi's former vassals. One of Hideyoshi's appointed regents, Uesugi Kagekatsu, defied Ieyasu by building up his military, which left Ieyasu infuriated. Afterwards, Ieyasu summoned the help of various supporters and led them northward to attack the Uesugi clan. Ishida Mitsunari, grasping the opportunity created by the chaos, rose up in response and created an alliance to challenge Ieyasu's supporters. Inside his home of the beautiful and well-fortified Sawayama Castle, he met with Otani Yoshisugu, the leper samurai famed for his battle prowess, along with Mashita Nagamori, one of the bureaucrats that served with Ishida during the Korean campaign, and Onkokuji Eke, a military monk and descendant of the Takeda clan. Here, they forged their alliance, and invited Mori Teramoto, the head of the Mori clan, to be its head. They formed what came to be referred to as the Western Army, while Ieyasu and his vassals became known as the Eastern Army. Mori Teramoto and Ishida Mitsunari seized the impregnable fortress of Osaka Castle for their base of operations, since most of Tokugawa's forces had vacated the area to attack Uesugi. Ishida devised a plan to take the family members of several daimyos hostage, thus forcing rival generals to either ally with him or at least not attack him. However, when Ishida attempted to take Akechi Tama hostage, her family retainer killed her and then committed seppuku after lighting the mansion on fire to prevent her the dishonor of being captured. The outrage over her death was so great that Ishida was forced to abandon his schemes, and he also lost some allies. Back in Edo, Tokugawa Ieyasu received news of the situation and decided to deploy his forces. Ieyasu himself commanded 30,000 men, and his subordinates led another 40,000. This made up the bulk of what would later be called the Eastern Army. Ishida's forces, however, numbered some 120,000 soldiers. Shima Sakon, one of Mitsunari's senior commanders, requested permission to attack the nearest Tokugawa troops. Later, Sakon clashed with Honda Tadakatsu, the legendary samurai who garnered a reputation for never having received a wound in battle. Shima Sakon, however, would win the conflict, and the morale of the Western Army was restored. Mitsunari would soon push forward, and ordered his forces to surround Ieyasu at Sekigahara. At dawn, on October the 21st in the year 1600, the Tokugawa scouts stumbled upon Ishida's army. Thick fog from the earlier rain obscured both sides from view. Startled, they each retreated, but the encounter revealed their foe's presence, foreshadowing an epic battle that would decide the fate of Japan. Ishida maintained his defensive stance until the morning, but the wind would soon disperse the fog, revealing their adversaries' positions. With little time to spare, orders were hastily given, and the clash of armies commenced. The muddy ground, remnants of the previous day's downpour, turned the skirmish into a primal struggle, marking the onset of a savage combat. Battle-hardened daimyos emerging from a period of everlasting war would ride onto the battlefield and engage in a bloody turmoil. The blood-soaked fray erupted as Fukushima Masanori, the fierce spearhead of the Tokugawa advance, thundered forth from the Eastern Army's left flank, cleaving through a midst of chaos along the banks of the Fuji River. His target, the heart of the Western Army's right centre, commanded by the formidable head of the Okita clan, a veteran of countless campaigns, and one of the esteemed Council of Five Elders who had pledged his allegiance to Ishida Mitsunari. Sensing the tide of battle turning, Ieyasu, the master strategist, bellowed his commands, unleashing a relentless assault from the Tokugawa's right and centre, a seething torrent of violence aimed at bolstering Fukushima's daring offensive. The clash of steel and the cries of the fallen heralded the onset of a brutal struggle, which would see the death of thousands. As Fukushima's advance pressed forward inch by inch, their gains were achieved at a harrowing price, their flank left vulnerable. Here, Otani Yoshisugu, the famed leper samurai and close friend of Ishida Mitsunari, would seize upon this moment of weakness with ruthless efficiency. Across the turbulent waters of the Fuji River, his forces lurked, poised to strike with a deadly precision. Yet, beyond the shadowy ranks of Otani's warriors loomed another threat. Upon Mount Matsuo stood Kobayakawa Hideyoshi, with his forces ready to unleash their fury. Hideyoshi, a prominent daimyo, had been courted by the Tokugawa camp, despite previously pledging his allegiance to their cause. When the decisive moment of battle arrived, rumours swirled of his hesitation and purported neutrality, casting a shadow of uncertainty over the unfolding conflict. Before the Battle of Sekigahara, Hideyoshi just happened to be in Osaka and gave aid to Mitsunari in the siege of Fushimi. He acted as though he would go along with Mitsunari, but kept his true intentions hidden. On the tumultuous battlefield, Ieyasu's eastern contingent found themselves struggling against the relentless onslaught of Mitsunari's western force. The head of the Ukita clan would surge forward and gain ground against Fukushima Masanori, while the leper samurai Otani Yoshisugu's cunning tactics secured a decisive advantage over Todo Takatora. Yet, amidst the chaos, Hideyoshi remained a figure torn between conflicting loyalties. His hesitation hung heavy in the air as he commanded a massive force of 15,000 soldiers, but was uncertain which path to tread upon the blood-stained earth. Hideyoshi eventually ordered an attack on the Otani troops, and while his attack was beaten back temporarily, his action forced other armies who had pledged their betrayal also to switch sides and join Ieyasu's army. Ishida's great general and friend Yoshisugu would fiercely resist the onslaught, momentarily pushing back Kobayakawa's troops and even driving them partway up the rugged mountain slopes. However, the overwhelming tide of enemy numbers ultimately proved insurmountable. Amidst the chaos, Yoshisugu, who at this point was partially blind due to his illness, repeatedly sought reassurance from his loyal retainer and asked him, "Is it lost?" When the grim truth was finally confirmed, Yoshisugu, resolute in defeat, bade his retainer to sever his head from his weary shoulders, succumbing to his grim fate. In the heart of the fray, Shima Sakon, the comrade and commander of Ishida's ranks, remained resolute in his loyalty. Yet, he faced the might of Hosokawa Tadaoki, and fate dealt him a cruel blow, and he was killed by gunfire in the savage combat that ensued. Meanwhile, within the formidable confines of Osaka Castle, Mori Teramoto and his forces remained guarding the fortress. Their reluctance to join the fray left Ishida Mitsunari with only his most trusted allies, Shima Sakon and Otani Yoshisugu, who had just both met their end on the battlefield. As the smoke of battle cleared, Ishida Mitsunari and Onkokuji Eke, along with a few other allies, realized their dreams were shattered. They would flee the carnage, and Mitsunari would be caught by a group of peasants. The remaining leaders of Mitsunari's side would then be thrown into prison, and later publicly executed. Ishida Mitsunari, Konishi Yukinaga, and Onkokuji Eke were killed as common criminals would have been, heralding the decline of the once mighty Toyotomi Clan as they acted on its behalf. With a firm hand, Tokugawa Ieyasu, the architect of victory, wielded his power, reshaping the very fabric of society by reallocating lands among the victors, while dishing out punishment to those who dared stand against him. Through this calculated act of retribution, he solidified his dominion over the former Toyotomi territories. Initially perceived as a mere skirmish among Toyotomi vassals, the true significance of the battle came to light with Ieyasu's ascension to the esteemed position of Shogun in the year 1603, bestowed upon him by Emperor Go-Yōzei. This momentous event marked the restoration of the position left vacant since the downfall of the Ashikaga shogunate 27 years prior. From Oda Nobunaga, the most powerful and warlike daimyo, being the first unifier of the country, to Toyotomi Hideyoshi taking his former lord's place as the most powerful man in Japan, with history repeating itself with Tokugawa Ieyasu, with Ieyasu managing to establish his own bloodline as the future shoguns of the country by tracing his ancestry to the Minamoto clan, a powerful family that had acted as shoguns and emperors of Japan in the days of old. Ieyasu's appointment as shogun ended the Sengoku period and would usher in an era of peace. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all soon for another video.